No sense of style. No sense of style. Focused question. What was Mike's plan and how did it turn out? Mike got $25 for Christmas. The day after Christmas, Mike walked to Jarek's house and handed him the money. Jarek handed him his spy kit. Nice doing business with you, Jarek said. Likewise, said Mike. Jarek and his parents spent the rest of winter break in Hawaii. The first day back at school, he was glum from jet lag. Mike was glum too. They slumped together, side by side at the cafeteria table. How was Hawaii? Mike asked. Mosquitoes, Jarek grumbled. Huh? Said Mike. How's the spy kit? Jarek asked. It had taken Mike about 48 hours to understand why Jarek was willing to part with the spy kit. It was only as exciting as those it spied on. Sure, in the world of international Ichiguro, it might be thrilling, but Mike didn't have that kind of material to work with. It turned out that the most fascinating person in his family was Pickles the cat, not a person at all. Now he was broke again, with nothing to show for it. Mike conveyed all this with an eloquent sigh. Jarek nodded sadly. Why didn't you warn me? Asked Mike. It's one of those lessons you've got to learn for yourself, Jarek said. Besides, I wanted your money. Just then an argument broke out nearby between Cello and Violet. Cello was the most fashionable girl in third grade. She wore trendy new clothes every day. Violet's clothes were never new, yet somehow she dressed with also enough flair that Jarek and Mike had a nickname for her, the funky fashionista. I would never wear somebody else's stuff, Cello was saying. I mean, how do you know? They didn't die in it. Violet shrugged. You don't, she said. But nowadays, they have this nifty invention called a washing machine. Mike and Jarek laughed. I guess you can't stop. I can't help it, Cello sniffed. You can't afford new clothes. I prefer the challenge of shopping at thrift stores, Violet said. Plus, sometimes I buy stuff there and sell it at the second-hand store. It's almost like a business. Mike was already listening. He had a little crush on Violet. Actually, but now he leaned forward. Business, you say? He prompted. Violet nodded. Thrift stores have donated clothes and all of them cheap. Second-hand store buy clothes, so they tend to be picker and charge a little more. If you know how to create, you can buy at the cheap store. Sell to at the picker store and make a profit. You just have to know that the other people want. Mike gazed at Violet. What a head for business this girl had. At home, Mike turned a cold eye on his wardrobe. Several of the clothing items he'd gotten for Christmas still had his takes on. Surely those would bring good money at the second-hand store. He threw in a couple of sweatshirts that were getting too small and his dress shoes. He'd always hated those. Last minute. If Mike sold a dozen items of clothing for $5 each, how much money would he get? If Mike turned around to spend $15 on jeans, how much of that money would he have left? The answer first, $60, and the second answer is $45. Of course, he couldn't ask his parents to take him to the second-hand store. His money-making scams always seemed to unnerve them. So instead, Mike told his mom that the book contained the school projects he and Jarek were working on together. She drove him and the box over to Jarek's house. Jarek told his dad they needed to ride to the second-hand store, and his dad dropped them off with the cardboard box. At a counter, Mike watched with pleased anticipation as a buyer explained him items one by one. I create them myself, Mike explained proudly. He watched a large pile forming on one side of the box. On the other side lay 2 pairs of jeans. "What's wrong with those jeans?" he asked. "They're brand new." The buyer moved the box out of the way and set his hands on the counter. His fingernails were painted a metallic blue. "Nothing," said the buyer. "We'd like to buy them." "Oh," Mike said. "So?" "Just the jeans," the buyer said. "We can give you $8 in cash or 12 in trade." "So," Mike began again. "And if you want," the buyer went on, "we can give you $20 cash for the coat." Slowly, Mike looked down. This coat?" he asked. "That coat," the buyer said. "It's so retro." Indeed it was. Mike's dad had worn the coat when he was a boy. Mike was just growing into it. "Good riddance," said Jack. "Now you can ask your parents for a new one." "So you don't want these other stuff?" Mike asked. The buyer shook his head. "Did you want to sell the jeans?" he asked. "I do," said Mike, "and the coat." He peeled it off, took the cash, and reached into the cardboard box for a couple of his two small treasures. He pulled them on before he and Jack left the store. Mike knew better than to ask his parents for a new coat. But the next morning when they were heading out the front door, his dad asked him where his coat was. "I left it at Jack's yesterday," Mike lied. "It's January," said Mr. McCarthy. "You can't go out without a coat." "I'll call Jack's parents right now," said Mrs. McCarthy. "Maybe they can spend it to school with Jack." She grabbed her phone, but Mike stopped her. "Don't," he said. His parents stared at him. "I sold the coat," Mike mumbled, "to Twice Nice. And those jeans I got for Christmas." His mom was mad about the jeans, but she was furious about the coat. "That coat had a lot of sentimental value," she cried. Mike discovered a strange lump in his throat and knew she was right. Why in the heck had he sold it? "Oh no," said his mom. "We're buying that one back." That afternoon, Mrs. McCarthy marched Mike back up to the counter of Twice Nice. When she asked to speak to the manager, Mike turned away in embarrassment and found himself face to face with Violet. "Is this where you stop? And where you shop?" she asked. Mike shook his head. "Me neither," Violet whispered. "But this is where I sell." Mike watched Violet and her aunt sell to the same buyer. Today his fingernails were magenta, Mike noticed, and something else. After looking through Violet's pile of clothes, the guy took almost everything. Mike watched her accept a stack of cash. He sighed. She makes business look so easy and turned back to the manager. "Normally we didn't do this," the manager started. But with a single look, Mrs. McCarthy shut her down. The manager sold the coat back to Mike at cost. The $20 they had paid him for it. The jeans, however, were already gone. "No worries," Violet said. "The thrift store down the street is having a red tag sale." She and her aunt took Mike and his mom there, and Violet helped Mike find new pairs of used jeans. They were broken, but Mike actually liked them better than his Christmas jeans. One problem remained, though. When it came to business, he never failed to fail. What was wrong with him?